All right. Woo, what is happening? Let me change that. That is weird. Oh, it's always so funny when you have like weirdness going on and you're, all right, I guess we'll try that. We'll see what happens. All right. It's so odd. Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's 10-minute burst of innovation. Weird tech going on today with the video, but hey, here I am and here you are, and that's what matters. Excited for today's burst of innovation. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. As you can tell, we were playing around with some background imagery, and this is what decided to pop up. So, but I don't want to leave you waiting. So today on this burst, I want to talk about something actually really important, which is about self-sabotage and being in the valley and the honesty that comes out of the valley. And what I mean by that is, and I'm going to show you a video on this, is oftentimes it's hard to create a problem solve. It's hard to innovate when we're not being real with who we are, where we are, what we need to accomplish, what we haven't accomplished, what's going wrong, what's going right. Oftentimes I see ego get in the way of innovation. Just go ahead and put that in the chat. If you're on with us on Zoom, how many of you have, let me open this up for everyone. How many of you have had that moment where you know things are a little bit different, you know that you should do something in a certain direction, but that ego gets in the way, right? It makes you want to say just the right thing, or it makes you not want to pursue something in fear of not looking so smart, or maybe looking stupid, or maybe even fear of failure. Ego gets in the way. And that's often what leads to our self-sabotage. So I want us to think about today how we overcome that self-sabotage, so how we can be more honest with ourselves, not so we can be critical, not so we can beat ourselves up, but actually so that we can innovate and move forward. I was once in a meeting with all the mucky mucks of this big consumer packaged goods company. It was actually a cleaning supplies, among other things, company, huge global company. And I'll never forget, all the VPs of these different brands were in the room. So between them collectively in this room, it was, $5 billion or something dollars worth of products that they owned, right? They owned the P&Ls too. And I'll never forget, everybody was going around the room and they were talking about where their business is, right? Here are the ups, here's what's happening. And everybody was sugarcoating things. Well, it didn't go well here, but that's just because of this. It's a blip, and we're really excited about this over here. Or, oh, this looks better than the numbers show. Everybody was putting on a show. And then it got to this one VP, and he paused. He looked around the room and he said, here's the deal. Things are declining. I don't know why, but I'm going to go figure it out. And there was this collective sigh around the room of, I think, a little bit of relief that someone was just simply being honest about the situation they were in, what was good, what was not so good. He went on to talk in more detail about things, which I can't disclose because it's all confidential. But that moment of honesty is what allowed him to find the answers to innovate and to move forward. Had he not done that, he would not have been able to. Had he sugarcoated it like everybody else. And interestingly, in that day, I think him doing it gave permission for other people in the room to be a little bit more honest too, and not self-sabotage themselves. So I want to show you a video from one of our Everyday Innovator interviews where he talks about this on a personal level. Kirby says, who would say a man has an ego problem? I know, right, Kirby? Who has ego problems? All right, let me show you this. Hold on one second. Let me find it, and then I will show it to you. I will show you this video. So I want to show you kind of how this shows up more on a personal level, as you are all putting in the chat bar, as it does for you as well as it does for all of us many, many times. Oh, here it is. Okay, let me pull up. Okay, I'm going to share this with you. I want you to think about how this might show up in your world too.
The truth is, right, when I realized that I wasn't living up to my potential, I promised myself that I was going to stop negotiating with myself and just make a commitment. Our feelings are so fleeting. Like, I don't feel like working out. I don't feel like eating healthy. I don't feel like doing this, right? Like, those change so frequently. Yeah. But when we have some principles that back that, right, our principles never lie. Our principles don't fail us. And so it was really one of those things that I made a commitment that I was going to, at the time, read every day and meditate every day for 30 days. And if at the end of that 30 days, it didn't serve me or I didn't want to do it, then I would stop and look for something else. But I had committed to myself. And it was in that commitment that in the morning when I woke up, there was no negotiation to be like, oh, am I going to do this or am I not going to do this?
Right.
No, I made it to myself.
All right, stop sharing. What does that make you think about? Now, he's talking about self-sabotage and that ego on a very personal level and how it gets in the way, right? Then we make decisions based on emotion or we negotiate ourselves out of things. And I think all too often in personal and work life, it's very easy to negotiate ourselves out of it. In fact, after interviewing Sergio, it really made me think about where do I negotiate and where do I set decisions that I don't waver on. And I thought about it personally, and I'm just going to share this with you as you all are typing kind of your stories in the chat bar. When I thought about this personally, I thought, I don't waver on getting my workout in. That decision happens the night before when I set my alarm. I don't decide in the morning when the alarm goes off because who wants to get up? I don't. I make it the night before. In work, it means that I'm not going to settle for anything but the best. I'm not going to settle for anything but the reality of the situation so that I can innovate and find my way out of it if there's a challenge or leverage it and celebrate it if it's a success. So I love how Sergio talks about that, about the negotiations we have with ourselves. And one of the things that you can do to make sure, right, that you are like this VP that I was talking about who was in this meeting and was the first one to be really honest about the situation. I think you can have principles that you decide to live by that you aren't going to negotiate and you aren't going to waver on. So I was talking to this VP later and I said to him, that was really bold of you to stay in that meeting. I don't know. And he said, yeah, Tamara, but I made a deal with myself that one thing I would never do is sugarcoat things. He said, I would never, not just lie, but I would never just put a layer of packaging on things that didn't actually exist. He said, I've done it throughout my career. Sometimes it's gotten me in trouble, but most often than not, it actually has served me because it's allowed me to see the real opportunities. It's allowed me to see the challenges for what they really are. So I want you to put in the chat bar if you're on with us in Zoom, and if you're on one of our live streams, join us on Zoom later so you can join the conversation. Hearing the story about this VP I worked with, all of these VPs, hearing Sergio's story, he's a real estate agent, by the way, and about self-sabotage, about not negotiating. What is your big insight and aha? What's the thing you think you can do to make sure that you're seeing things the way they really are and actually leveraging that to drive innovation? What's the thing that you can do? Yeah, okay, so Greg says not be overly positive about the situation. You know what's interesting about that, Greg? I like the way you said that. So I was interviewing someone for a podcast who I think is coming out this week, and she said, I realized that optimism and positivity don't have to go together. Meaning I can be an optimist about things and not necessarily look at the numbers, look at the data, look at the situation and be, rose-colored glasses positive about it. I think it's important that we separate those two, right? You can be an optimist, always looking for the way to solve problems, always looking the way to get solution-minded, but not necessarily be positive about it. Yeah, and Kirby says, don't let it get in the way of the truth. Exactly. The truth is where the innovation is actually found. And more often than not, in my very long career, what I found is that people, leaders, organizations that try to sugarcoat or change the reality of the situation are the ones that don't innovate their way out because they're not starting from a solid foundation. And the ones that do what this VP did and just say, here's the deal, here are the numbers, now we're going to figure it out. The ones that don't self-sabotage, the way Sergio said, that don't negotiate with reality are actually the ones that succeed in the long run. So what I want you to think about is how you can do that as well. So I love what Sergio said about having guiding principles. So it takes the willpower, it takes the instant decision-making where emotions get in the way, where ego gets in the way, where it takes that out, and you are simply making decisions based on your principles. My principles, right, are to always go for it when I think it's the right thing to do. My principles are always direct and honest. I think any of you who've worked with me know that about me. My principles are about doing the right thing, about being solution-minded. So those things just show up in everything I do because I know that's how I'm going to act and behave. Connie says, I think I need to look at my mindset about networking. Right now, I feel it's freaking waste of time, not worth it. I feel right now it's black and white. Right now it's worthless. So this is making me think Yeah, you know what, Connie, here's what I'd say about that too. Oftentimes, I'm going to challenge you for a minute, Connie, because I know I can. Oftentimes, our mindset around things like that, about, oh, that's a waste of time, I'm not going to bother doing that, is actually our insecurity about meeting new people, being accepted by new people, having to sell ourselves and the work that we do to new people, about maybe being nervous about small talk, or, you know, trying to engage with people. Oftentimes I find, because Connie, I went through that exact same feeling of, I hate networking, it's such a waste of time. But the truth is, it's not. I'm going to tell you a quick story, something I heard the other day. I was speaking at a conference, and the person before me was kind of like the industry guru. He was like the Michael Jordan of this industry in the financial real estate sector. And he said he lived on the East Coast. He said he used to go through the toll booths every time, right? Instead of going the automatic, right? You know, you get the little toll thing that just ding, 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 right? It just charges your account. He said he would go through the one with a person in it. Every time he would hand him his card and said, if you're ever looking to refinance your house, or if you need a loan for a house, here's my number. And the people who always drove with him were always super frustrated. It's a waste of time. Oh my God, why are you selling yourself to the toll booth guy? Then one day that toll booth guy called him because he needed a refi. And so did 17 of his friends from the office. Why? Because his mindset wasn't about self-sabotage. His mindset was, every person, his principle was, every person I talk to will know what I do. I believe so strongly that I can help people that every person will know what I do. Imagine for a moment, Connie, picking on you a little bit here. Imagine for a moment if that was the mindset around networking. Now, you might be strategic about where you network, but still, right? Doesn't that change everything? Tell me what you think. Mia says, I realized I can welcome the doubts, but don't let them move in. Yeah, you know, Mia, that's very well said. I'm okay with the doubts. I don't know that I welcome them. I think I probably could work on that too. But I will say this, I don't ignore them, because if I ignore them, they actually fester and get bigger. It's like shoving it into a closet and hoping it's not there anymore. And then it just takes over the whole closet and busts out. But I agree, do not let them move in. Okay, Kirby says, I'm not too fond of networking. What I've learned is to ask, or just let someone know, because you never know. Yes, who they can connect you with. Yeah, you know, I think, yeah, Connie, you're welcome. I'm glad you needed that. Yeah, it's a great example of self-sabotage. In fact, it goes to everything we were just saying about just being brutally honest. I'm going to loop it over to something that I know you all who are regulars with me will understand. And for those of you new, it's a really important point. We have this lizard brain, and that lizard brain often tries to keep us safe and comfortable and warm. And the lizard brain is the one going, be humble. Don't share with anybody what you do. Well, networking is a waste of time. Welcome all the doubts, because the doubts will keep you from moving forward. Please do move in doubts. I love to question my lizard brain. And as you all know, my lizard brain's name is, yep, Bernard, right? So to me, when I have those moments where the doubts are coming in, I say, all right, Bernard, like, why are we really feeling this way? And when you start to ask your lizard brain, what research has actually shown is that you get to the heart of the issue. Well, I'm actually feeling insecure. Well, I'm nervous about pushing this idea forward. I'm afraid they won't go for my idea. I'm afraid that person won't like me. I'm afraid they'll find me pushy, like whatever it is, right? But actually kind of not letting Bernard take over and actually owning Bernard will help you push through that. Yes, I know. Who doesn't love Bernard? All right, Paul, as a leader, help your team also understand you appreciate honesty. Yes, sharing issues will reach a solution faster and be open to solution proposals. Yes, I think, Paul, what Paul said is so critical. If we're honest, the people around us will have more permission to be honest, right? They'll see it in us. But also, when they come to us with those things, we have to make sure that we respond in a way that makes them see that we're okay with that. Now, that doesn't mean we have to be okay with the situation, right? We may need it to be solved, but that we are thankful that they were willing to be honest about it. Because I'll tell you, the minute your team starts sugarcoating stuff, you never get anywhere. It's why people often spin in place, because you're not dealing with the reality that you have to get to. All right, everybody, this was a little bit all over place of a 10-minute burst, but the point of it being is, don't let that ego get in the way. Don't let that self-sabotage happen. Make sure that you find ways to steep yourself in that realism and that optimism without sugarcoating things or putting rose-colored glasses on them, so that you can move forward. And here's the thing. I hope you see this. Tell me if you do in the chat bar. I find it really empowering to know that if I deal with the good, the bad, and the ugly as it really is, that I'll be able to move forward and get out of it. I think it's very empowering to know that actually dealing with it as it is the first step to getting out of it. Now, I said good, bad, and ugly because sometimes things are awesome and we need to own the reality of those two. Why did it work so well? What happened? But oftentimes it's those challenges that hold us back and keep us on the hamster wheel. So we're focusing on those today because that's what causes the Bernards of the world, the self-sabotage of the world, the kind of, thinking, maybe having a mindset about things that aren't serving us. So time to switch all that. So here's my suggestion to you. I would think about 3 or 4 principles that make you a little nervous, kind of like the guy I was talking about at the toll booth who said, everybody should know what I do because I can help them. And if I can't help them, I can help their friends, right? That was his guiding principle. Everyone needs to know because I can help them. Think about principles that will help you move forward from that place. Maybe they make you a little bit uncomfortable right now when you think about them, but they're going to serve you in the long run. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Hey, and by the way, if you have any topics, ideas for conversation, things that that I talk about that you want me to dig into on these or go a little further, questions, situations that you're in that you think, oh, if Tamara adds a little dose of innovation over here, maybe we can think about it differently. Email me, let me know. We'd love to add more and more of your topics in. In fact, this one came from one of you as well. So thank you for that. All right, everybody, have a great week. I will see you next time.